Have you ever been confused about what actually wait a second. Who turned this threshold so low? Much better. Have you ever been confused about what actually goes on when you use a compressor? If you said yes, stay tuned because this video is for you. If you said no, you're a fucking liar.
LaBella, bring the heat.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Tech Tip Tuesdays. If this is your first time on my channel and you want more mixing and production tips as well as industry advice and or fresh beats 3 times a week, make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Today I'm going to be kicking off a 2-part series about one of the most commonly misunderstood concepts in all of audio engineering, compression. In this video, we're going to be talking about what compression is, why it's useful, and then take a look at some of the common controls you'll find on just about every compressor out there. In part 2, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into when we should be using compression, as well as how we can actually apply it to a few different types of sounds. So what is compression? Compression is the process of reducing the dynamic range between the loudest and the quietest parts of an audio signal. So basically what we're doing is we're taking the loudest parts and making them a little bit quieter. We're taking the quietest parts and making them a little bit louder. That in itself is pretty easy to understand, but how we actually achieve this and what it ultimately ends up sounding like are much more nuanced and complex. So the basic controls on a compressor are the threshold, the ratio, the attack, release, the makeup gain, the knee, and on most VSTs you're going to find a look ahead, but this isn't something that you're going to find on any analog compressors or anything. The 2 most important controls are the threshold and the ratio. Both of these really work together to shape the sound and really determine how much compression is actually applied to the sound. So the threshold determines when the compression actually gets activated. So this line right here, this is the threshold line. So it's set at around negative 12 decibels. So what that means is that anything that goes over 12 decibels, everything that goes over negative 12 decibels is going to be compressed, and anything that stays under that line is not going to be affected. A quick example, let's just see here. So you can see how those peaks were the ones that got lowered while everything else didn't get affected by it. So the amount of attenuation that happens once the threshold is crossed is determined by the ratio. So for example, a ratio of 6:1 means that the input signal has to cross the threshold by about 6 decibels for the output level to increase by 1 decibel. So if we take a look at that example again here. So anytime that the peak reaches around negative 6 decibels here, which would be 6 decibels higher than negative 12, we're only getting about 1 actual decibel louder. So a ratio of 1:1 means that no compression is going to happen. So you can take a listen here. No matter what I do with the threshold, nothing's happening with the sound. And then the same thing goes for the threshold. If the threshold is all the way at 0, it doesn't matter what we do the ratio. Nothing's really going to happen to the sound. I mean, you can see these minor little peaks right there, but nothing's going to happen if the threshold is set at 0. But a ratio of like something high, like 10:1 or more, basically acts as a limiter and keeps the sound from going much above the threshold line at all. So if we take a look here, everything's getting pretty squashed. So a 4:1 ratio is usually a pretty good starting point. And then you can kind of work down or up from there and figure out where the best spot would be for whatever sound you're working on. So let's just do a little quick example and play around with both the threshold and ratio and see how it changes the sound. So yeah, you can definitely hear a difference there. Next, let's move on and take a look at the attack and release settings. So the attack determines how quickly the compression happens once the signal crosses over the threshold. So basically what that means is once the signal gets above this, it's going to wait until however long you tell it to wait before the compressor actually kicks in. So a fast attack time is good for things that have sudden peaks at the beginning of the sound, like drums or rap vocals, whereas slow attack time is going to allow the transients to come through loud and clear, giving a more transparent sound that's good for gluing things together and mastering and stuff like that. So I'm going to show you an extreme example with the threshold real low and the ratio real high so that we can really hear the difference in what's happening, but let's take a look at what happens when we change the attack time. So the release time determines how quickly the compression is released once the input level crosses back below the threshold. So slow release times can make the compressor sound more transparent, while fast release times make it sound more like the compressor is working really hard. So let's take a listen to how that sounds. If you're looking to achieve a sound that breathes with the beat, you should set the attack and release time based on the BPM of the song. The quickest way to do this is to head over to studioguru.co and use their super handy reverb and delay calculator. So this track is 85 BPM. So let's see, 176, 352, 88. So let's just keep those in mind. So let's set the release at around, 352 or 176, one of those. Let's set it at 352. So you can tell it's kind of breathing with the beat now. If you watch my videos, you'll see me talk about this tool a lot, and that's because it's something I use with literally every song I work on. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's probably the most valuable free tool for making your mixes sound better. So I'm going to leave a link in the description down below, and I highly recommend that you bookmark it for quick reference. So the knee affects how quickly the compression actually takes effect once it kicks in. So a hard knee means that the compression will happen quickly once the threshold is crossed, and a soft knee means that it's going to happen a little bit more gradually. So let's take a look at the hard knee here. So this is good for drums. And then soften it up here. A hard knee is good for stuff like drums, where there's a lot of quick, sharp transients, whereas a soft knee would be better for something like vocals or guitars. So after all that compression is applied, the overall signal volume is usually a couple decibels lower than it was going in. So in order to account for this, most compressor plugins have a feature called makeup gain, which basically just makes up for the gain that was lost during the compression process. So let's take a listen to what that sounds like. So this is with makeup gain, this is without makeup gain. So using that makeup gain is an essential part of maintaining proper gain staging throughout your mix, which, by the way, if you're not really sure what gain staging is, make sure you head over to the video I made a few weeks ago about it. because it's a foundational concept that you need to understand if you really want to get good sounding mixes. I'm going to leave a link down in the description for it, so make sure you check that out. The last setting that you'll see on a lot of compressor plugins is a look ahead function. What the look ahead basically does is it delays the whole signal a little bit in order to look ahead and predict when the peaks will occur so it can catch them all perfectly. I don't really use this feature too much because it kind of strips the compressor of some of its color and tone, and that's kind of half the reason why I use it in the first place. Before I wrap things up, I just want to give a quick shout out to the winner of last week's Free Beat Friday giveaway. If you want a free beat, make sure you leave a comment on my Friday videos within the first 24 hours of them being uploaded. I randomly pick one person and let them pick any beat in my store for absolutely free. Make your own beats? You're in luck. I just dropped a brand new drum kit with over 40 completely organic, lo-fi sounds that you won't find anywhere else. Best part? I'm giving it away for free. Just follow the link in the description below. I know we went over a lot of technical terms today, so I hope I didn't end up confusing you even more on the subject. But if I did, don't hesitate to ask a question down in the comments. I'll do my best to clear things up for you. If you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that thumbs up and smash that subscribe button so you don't miss next week's video, where we're going to dive in a little bit deeper on when to use compression and how we can actually use it to affect a few different types of sounds. Until then, peace.
LaBella, bring that heat.